The technical committee, inaugurated on the 9th of January this year, was also mandated to advise the federal government on new revenue sources as well as areas of existing expenditure from where some savings could be made in order to fund the wage increase. This is to ensure that Nigeria's difficult fiscal condition is neither worsened by the consequential increase in workers' salaries and allowances nor adversely impact on the nation's development goals as set out in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan.
I am very pleased that the committee took on this important national assignment with all seriousness. Let me thank the chairman, Mr. Bismarck Rouhani, and all the committee members most sincerely for your patriotism, your hard work, commitment, and sacrifices. I understand that you have worked tirelessly to ensure that you deliver the report before we receive the minimum wage bill from the National Assembly. We will review this report expeditiously. In the process, we may need to engage with some members of your committee. I therefore implore you to make your services available whenever we may call on you.
The President expressed appreciation to, amongst others, the Budget Office of the Federation, the National Incomes, Salaries and Wages Commission, Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Central Bank of Nigeria, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and the National Bureau of Statistics for providing strong support to the committee in the course of the assignment. Budget and National Planning Minister Udoma coordinated the work of the committee, which was also required to propose a work plan and modalities for the implementation of the salary increase.
I'm sure that there will be recommendations there that will be helpful to us in terms of making sure there's a seamless implementation of the new minimum wage whenever it is passed into law.
President Muhammadu Buhari later engaged the 21-man committee behind closed doors, during which its chairman, Bismarck Rouhani, a renowned economist and businessman, made a PowerPoint presentation on members' observations and recommendations, but details were not made public. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The governing All Progressives Congress is already working with newly elected members of the House of Representatives from the party to ensure that credible members emerge as principal officers in the 9th National Assembly. To this end, the party executives and National Chairman Adams Oshiomhole had a strategic meeting with the newly elected members in Abuja. Salihu Abdullahi reports.
With the elections over, it is now time to prepare for governance by those elected into various political offices. 42-year-old Shina Pella, representing Iseyin, Itesiwaju, Kajola, and Iwajowa in Oyo State, is among the 164 newly elected members of the House of Representatives on the platform of the APC.
We are proud that
this forum provided an opportunity for Shina and his colleagues to interact with his party's National Working Committee, share ideas and make collective decisions ahead of the inauguration of the 9th Assembly.
Very important for us to realize that the party is an important factor because that is the conveyor of our political aspiration. And we have to be proactive.
Be able to consolidate the efforts of the executive and be able to work together for the betterment of Nigeria.
APC National Chairman Adams Oshiomhole urged the new members to use their number when inaugurated to work towards fulfilling their mandates by providing quality legislation in line with the party's ideology and the agenda of the Buhari administration.
A PDP person will not be speaker. A PDP person will not be deputy speaker. A PDP person will not take any of the committees that are meant for the ruling party. We want to have a new approach in which the executive, leaders of the National Assembly, and leaders of the party sitting together to discuss.
The meeting thereafter went to a closed-door session after being joined by returning members of the House of Representatives. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Turning now to the judiciary, where the Federal High Court has lifted the order restraining the Independent National Electoral Commission from collating the governorship result of the Tafawa Balewa local government area of Bauchi State. Justice Eyang Eko gave the order while delivering judgment in a suit filed by the All Progressives Congress and 8 candidates who aided the governor of Bauchi State, Governor Mohammed Abubakar, against Independent National Electoral Commission. Dele Atumbi reports.
Governor Mohammed Abubakar of Bauchi State last week approached the Federal High Court in Abuja, challenging the decision of INEC to resume and conclude collation and announce results of Tafawa Balewa local government area of Bauchi State after declaring the election as inconclusive. The suit filed by the All Progressives Congress and its candidate in the Bauchi governorship election has INEC as the sole defendant. The plaintiffs contended that the electoral umpire, having announced that there would be a supplementary election, could not reverse the decision without the order of a court of competent jurisdiction. INEC challenged the jurisdiction of the court to entertain the matter, arguing that only the Election Petition Tribunal has jurisdiction to hear the matter since the election has already been aired in part. Delivering judgment on the matter, the presiding judge, Justice Eyang Eko, set aside the earlier order of March 19, 2019, which stopped the collation of the results. The court also declined jurisdiction to hear the substantive case, ruling that INEC should be allowed to continue its constitutional duty. The court pointed out that although it has concurrent jurisdiction with the Election Petition Tribunal, it is appropriate to allow the Election Petition Tribunal hear the complaints of the plaintiffs, since the tribunal will have a broader jurisdiction to hear the complaints and the ones that will arise after the final results have been declared and the winner returned. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Meanwhile, collation of results from Tafawa Balewa local government is ongoing at the INEC state headquarters in Bauchi. Resident Electoral Commissioner Ibrahim Abdullahi spoke with NTA News.
RA collation officers, they are submitting their results to the local government collation officer, who will in turn, after finishing, he will take it to the final stage, which is to the state collation stroke returning officer. From there, the state returning officer will finish and announce whatever is the conclusion. The state returning officer will announce after the final compilation.
The appeal court sitting in Sokoto, presided over by Justice Tom Yakubu, has set aside the judgment of the Zamfara State High Court that allowed APC to field candidates for the 2019 governorship, national and state assembly elections. Shehu Mohammed Dati has the report.
The appeal was filed by Senator Kabiru Marafa and 129 others through his counsel, Mr. Mike Ozekome, son. The respondents were Kabiru Usman Al-Haji and 139 others, represented by Mahmoud Magaji San as lead counsel. Delivering judgment, Justice Tom Yakubu said the lower court had failed to evaluate the evidences presented before reaching the decision. The presiding judge noted that document evidence have upper consideration over oral ones, adding that the lower court should have looked in depth into right of summon, statement of claims, replies, and affidavits. The judgment was adopted by 2 other justices, Tijani Abubakar and Jamilu Tukur, who agreed that the lower court had failed in its duty to properly evaluate the evidences before it. However, the ruling noted that federal, state, and FCT courts have jurisdiction to entertain the matter against the challenge of the appellants.
They have set aside the judgment of the lower court on which INEC relied to allow APC in Zamfara State present candidates. So other issues will come up subsequently.
The justices did their job and they did it well, but we are definitely going further.
It could be recalled that the Zamfara High Court had recognized the primary elections held by APC in the state and declared that INEC accept the party candidates for elections. In Sokoto, Shehu Muhammad Datti, NTA News.
The victory of President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the just concluded general elections has been attributed to the mercies of God. Bishop of Remo Anglican Diocese, Most Reverend Olushina Fatley, stated this at an interdenominational service of praises and thanksgiving organized by the Vice President at his Ikene Remo country home in Ogun State. Correspondent Yemi Dalemo reports that dignitaries from across the country joined the Vice President to give thanks to God.
Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo and wife Dolapo, joined by governors and members of the National Assembly, gave thanks to God for the victory at the just concluded elections and its miraculous escape from the February 2nd helicopter crash in Kogi State. Addressing the gathering, the Vice President appreciated God for his mercies in his life, which saw him through the rigorous campaign exercise across the country, praying for more mercies.
I pray for you that all will be well with you. Amen. That even if you have seen reverses today, even if all does not seem well today, that tomorrow will be so much better than today, that you will praise his holy name. I pray for every one of us, that all of us will be delivered by the Lord in the mighty name of Jesus.
Wife of the Vice President, Dolapo Osinbajo, and the Governor-elect of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, eulogized the exceptional leadership qualities embedded in the nation's #2 citizen, describing him as a worthy role model.
Professor Osinbajo, he is an embodiment of sincerity, diligence, intellect, and he's a good man, in whom I'm proud to emulate and call my leader.
Earlier, Bishop of Remo Anglican Diocese, Most Reverend Olushina Fatley, in a sermon entitled Mercies of God, attributed the victory at the polls to the mercies of God, which not only gave them the victory, but also grant them the success, deliverance, and wisdom to rule according to the mind of God. From Ikene Remo, Yemi Dalemo, NTA News.
Now, hundreds of supporters of the All Progressives Congress took over some streets of Kano in celebration of Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje's re-election. Abdullahi Mustafa captures a scene at the Kano Government House and now reports.
This is State Road, the street leading to Kano Government House. It was taken over by hundreds of youth, especially supporters of the All Progressives Congress APC, in celebration of the declaration of Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje as winner of the governorship election in the state. This was the situation inside the government house, where supporters and well-wishers thronged to congratulate the governor.
We are so happy, we are proud, and we could say that all these efforts was God's making.
It is just like rehabilitation of the perception and belief of Kano State citizens.
Dr. Ganduje thanked the people of Kano for renewing his mandate, describing it as a challenge to serve them better.
The government of Kano State and the federal government will be of one vision, one mission, and one approach. That is to govern you while they not rule you duly.
He thanked the Kano Emirate Council, religious and community leaders for their contribution towards maintaining law and order in the state. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, has called for strict compliance with the Code of Conduct for employees in the judiciary as a way of stemming corruption in the third arm of government. He made a call at the opening of a national workshop for heads of lower courts in Nigeria. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewo reports.
Directors and inspectors are the administrative heads of area, sharia, and customary courts. For them to be so appointed, they themselves must have been judges in any of these courts. So, when the Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria talks about strict adherence to Code of Conduct for judiciary staff, it is something they themselves are supposed to have passed through and understand its impact on justice delivery. It is in this light that Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed reminded them of their proximity to the grassroots of the society in terms of improving the quality of justice delivery.
is a different country from what it used to be. Let us effect the changes that give us all the development in this country. Anything that is not worthwhile, please forget about it.
Organizers of the workshop are of the hope that it would guard against miscarriage of justice at the lower court level.
Apart from the renewed emphasis on transparency and integrity, all employees, of course, including directors and inspectors of the area, through Sharia, through customary courts, are obliged to adhere to the highest standards of integrity and moral rectitude.
This is the first time the National Judicial Institute is holding a separate workshop for this category of judicial workers. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
This is the NTA Network News. More news after this commercial break. Welcome back. Minister of State Aviation Hadi Serika says in the 2019 budget, the sector would pay special attention to safety and security infrastructure in Nigerian airports. The minister made this suggestion while defending the budgetary allocation before the Senate Committee on Aviation. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo tells us more.
5 days after the Senate adjourned plenary for 2019 budget scrutiny, its Committee on Aviation has drilled the Ministry of Aviation and its agencies. Minister of State for Aviation Hadi Serika presented the performance of the 2018 budget and explained that 47.5 billion naira proposed in the 2019 budget for capital expenditure will focus on infrastructural renewal.
Adequate provision has also been made to complete the new terminal building at Akanu EBM International Airport, Enugu, in 2019. And it is the first time in this country ever that airports are certified according to regulations.
Members of the Senate committee raised concerns on the high cost of charges by airline operators and also demanded to know the state of the proposed Nigeria's national carrier.
In the proposal sent in, there's provision for the national carrier. Secretary, the Vice President, has set up a committee. 70% of the committee is involving players in the industry.
The minister pointed out challenges with the new terminals being built with the $500 billion from China Exim Bank, which now needs additional $461.7 million.
You know very well that whether money is borrowed or raised internally for it to be spent, it has to get the approval of the National Assembly.
Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Nigerian Meteorological Agency, and College of Aviation Technology, Zaria, were among the agencies that defended their 2019 budget. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
The House of Representatives Committee on Works has commended the federal government on road infrastructure development across the country and urged that implementation of key projects be fast-tracked to further address the deficit in the sector. This was when the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, appeared before the committee to defend the ministry's budget performance for 2018 and proposal for 2019. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
While expressing confidence in President Muhammadu Buhari's willingness to address infrastructure deficit in the country, Babatunde Raji Fashola added that a 10 trillion naira infrastructure bond is required for maximum impact. The minister said in the interim, the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing is making interventions in public institutions using the National Infrastructure Maintenance Framework, which was approved by the Federal Executive Council.
Some of the things we have recommended, which the President has also approved, is the tax credit initiative for private sector companies to advance their taxes to government for infrastructure.
Committee members, while agreeing that alternative funding is required for road construction and maintenance, also raised questions in relation to ongoing key road projects across the country.
There is also the issue of right of way, which is a huge challenge. Most of the time, people abuse them and all that, and there is no data on them.
The whole of South does not have quarry. The only quarry we have is South and Cross River State. And the amount of heavy vehicles that ply those roads needs to be something that has to be considered when you are building the Calabar to highway.
Kaduna, Pambegua, Samunaka, Jos. It's like the artery in the heart of the nation.
Suggestions were also offered on how maintenance can be captured in budgets to avoid failure of such projects, as was experienced in the past. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Professor Aliyu Jauro as the new Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESRA. Aliyu Jauro, a professor of industrial chemistry, takes over from Dr. Lawrence Chidi Anokam, whose tenure expired on the 17th of February 2019. Before his appointment, he was Deputy Director at the National Center for Petroleum Research and Development at the Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi. Now, if Nigeria must eliminate tuberculosis, otherwise known as TB, all right, let's go to another story. The activities marking the World Tuberculosis Day has ended with a gala night organized by the wife of the president and the Global TB Ambassador, Aisha Muhammad Bugari, at the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. State House correspondent Aliyu Kabir reports that the event was organized to celebrate TB champions and survivors in Nigeria.
Since her appointment as global champion and ambassador for tuberculosis, the wife of the president has been advocating for support to end TB in Nigeria and all over the world. This led to the tremendous success towards the strong interventions of government and other non-governmental organizations in addressing the epidemic, with Nigeria placing among the 30 high-burden countries for TB. The night, therefore, is not only to celebrate the TB survivors, but to strengthen advocacy through the collaboration of all stakeholders to increase awareness on the dangers of TB and to take proactive measures to prevent it.
Through the efforts of all stakeholders, many lives have been saved and many more have been cured of TB. I want to congratulate every one of us for supporting efforts to end TB in our dear respective communities, states and all over the country. Our skills, passion, time and resources have contributed significantly to reduce the spread of TB, reduce the number of deaths and also mitigate the impact of the epidemic. That is why this is a night of celebration, and we are celebrating because despite the challenges, we have survivors who have been treated and cured of TB.
TB survivors, filmmakers, government and non-governmental organizations and all other critical stakeholders from both within and outside the country have lent their voices, saying TB is preventable and curable, and therefore affirmed their commitment to ending the disease. Various awards were presented to outstanding individuals who have in one way or the other contributed towards the effort of ending tuberculosis in Nigeria. From the State House, Aliyu Kabir.
You're still watching NTA Network News. Time to join Kemi Akinwode in Ibadan. Kemi.
Kene, good evening and welcome to Ibadan. Oyo State government says it will continue to facilitate improved science and technology practices in technical colleges, secondary schools and tertiary institutions in the state, which will lead to the production of skillful and self-reliant youths. Governor Abiola Ajimobi stated this during the opening ceremony of a two-day Oyo State Science and Technology Summit in Ibadan. Ayomi Kwajibola has the details.
The summit is aimed at creating a platform for constructive, workable, and collaborative interaction and brainstorming session among other stakeholders in order to chart a way forward for scientific and technology advancement with a view to achieving long-lasting strategy for sustainable solution. These strategies, according to your state government, will provide solutions to the most disturbing challenges like waste disposal, food security, environmental sanitation, poor power supply, among other identified challenges across the state.
To promote technological advances, developing countries to invest in quality education for youth, continuous skill training for workers and managers, and to ensure that knowledge is shared as widely as possible across society.
The summit featured tour of exhibition stand. The theme for the two-day summit is repositioning the economy through science and technology, a collective responsibility. In Ibadan, Ayomi Kwajibola, NTA News.
Problem-solving strategies and community partnership are key to policing and protection of lives and property of the people. AIG Zone 11 Leye Oyibade made this known during his visit to the General Officer Commanding 2 Division Nigerian Army in Ibadan to solicit the command's cooperation towards enhanced security. Rafael Animashan Badmus has the details.
The GAC appreciated the tremendous achievements of the police at the last general elections and assured them of the division's cooperation at all times and synergy from other security agencies in the state.
The interagency relationship that have existed, we have to improve upon it, sustain it, and make sure that it continues to cascade down the ladder to all the rank and file.
We work together through making sure that we train together, we act together, we speak in one voice on major security issues.
The AIG Zone 11 later joined the team from Ilesha to IBDC office in Ibadan over the protest by some youth in Ilesha against the incessant power outage and overbilling by IBDC officials, which has caused damage to members of the public and some IBDC staff.
To discuss with the management of IBDC on how we can find a immediate solution to the restoration of power in Ijesha land.
We're all going to see if we're going to work together to make sure that peace is restored back to Ijesha land, and of course we can also restore power.
In Ibadan, Rafael Animashan Badmus, NTA News.
And that's it from Ibadan. Kenny, it's back to you.
Thank you, Kemi. We now go for a quick commercial break. Do stay with us. Business news is next on NTA Network News. Moplang Dakok is here with all the numbers and Nigeria's Cocoa Master Plan document. Moplang.
Thank you, Kene. Good evening and welcome to Business News. The federal government is working with the International Cocoa Organization to achieve the country's desire of becoming one of the world's largest producer and processor of cocoa. This is coming as the international organization raised concerns over decline in the processing of the produce in Africa. Cocoa, as it stands today, is a $40 billion business, with Africa being the major producer of the cash crop.
Successfully put together a 10-year national cocoa plan from 2019 to 2028 in collaboration with ICCO and African Import-Export Bank, which was formally presented to the consultative board of the ICCO at the 37th meeting in September 2018.
When you produce top quality, you get the best price you can imagine. So again, what you can learn from Latin America is that the key is not production only, it's good production. So if you increase your production, you must increase the quality.
In another development, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, is working with the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to change the guidelines on margin lending. Acting Director of SEC, Mary Uduk, who disclosed this, said they intend to re-include banking shares in the margin list. She said the rules had to change after zero activity was recorded in the sector since the rules were created in 2010. And investors lose 36.19 billion naira as the stock market closed on a bearish note on the first trading day of the week. The all-share index depreciated by 0.31% to close at 31,042.32 basis points. 168 million shares worth 3 billion naira were traded in 3,048 deals. Market capitalization stood at 11.5 trillion naira. The financial services industry led the activity chart as Access Bank, Zenith, and Guarantee Trust Bank topped trading in terms of volume. Prestige, Maya, and International Breweries led the gainers chart, while Cadbury, UPL, and UAC Prop led the losers. And that's business news. It's back to you, Kene, for the rest of the news.
Thank you indeed, Moplank. It's time to join Hingino in Lagos for more news, including another building collapse.
Thank you, Kene, and welcome to Lagos. The federal government is continuing its implementation of Necessary Procurement Act as catalyst for addressing infrastructural deficit. At a procurement conversion training for civil servants in Lagos, participants agreed that procurement fraud is the bane of infrastructural development in Nigeria. Michael Olaleye reports.
Statistics revealed that Nigeria loses over 60 kobo to underhand practices for every 1 naira spent by government. When put together, over $10 billion is lost annually to fraudulent practices. Stakeholders say the procurement process is the starting point for any fraudulent act.
A good public procurement process would not only tackle corruption, but will, at the long run, extirpate it.
The federal government is, however, engaging these 400 workers across various ministries, departments, and agencies to serve as change agents in the implementation of the Public Procurement Act of 2007.
Your understanding of the process deployed into your practice as procurement professionals will reverberate in the total well-being of our dear country.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission supports the view by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, that 60% of corrupt cases in Nigeria are procurement-related.
Between 2011 and 2015, through procurement and contract fraud process, it was well over 1.3 trillion naira. 1/3 of this money, using World Bank rates and costs, could have comfortably been used to construct 635.15 kilometers of roads.
The Bureau for Public Procurement said, apart from this program, Price Checker platform and the e-procurement process are some of the technological measures expected to prevent procurement-related fraud. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NT News.
A 3-story building marked for demolition at Kakawa Street, Lagos Island, has collapsed. There was no casualty as occupants vacated the building since Saturday. Abolore Ogbara has details.
The 3-story building collapsed at about 1:10 p.m. at 50 Kakawa Street, Lagos Island. NTA News gathered that the building was defective and all occupants had been evacuated.
Landlord stayed to his covenant. He was supposed to have removed, because we advised them to remove. They're not going to remove, do an ND teach convince us of the state of the building, but you can see the state now, 4 years from now, the building has further deteriorated, but it collapsed by itself.
Immediately a building is marked for demolition, government should not wait for the family or the landlord to come and demolish the building by themselves. Government should quickly take it as a matter of urgency and destroy or demolish the building.
This is the 3rd building collapse in the same area within a space of 2 weeks, as the first collapse occurred on March 13 at Itafaji and another at 57 Egerton Square. Okeari, Lagos.
I was sleeping inside and I just heard a loud noise like a bomb, something like, and when we came out, the whole building had already collapsed. Thank God that nobody says that when this thing happens.
In Lagos, Abolore Ogbara, NTA News.
That's it from Lagos. We return to Kene in Abuja for more on Network News.
Thank you, Hingino. Nigeria Incentive-Based Risk Sharing and Agriculture Lending, NISRAL, has flagged off the 2019 Anchor Borrowers Program's wet season farming for cassava farmers in Owerri, Imo State. Kate Osumwa reports that a public-private initiative is aimed at tackling bottlenecks in the agricultural and financing value chain.
Flagging off the wet season farming program, we selected 525 cassava farmers out of over 4,000 subscribers from different cooperative groups in Imo State. Representatives of the federal government, NISAL and other partners charged farmers to make good use of the inputs to enable more assistance from government in the nearest future.
The institution's various products are designed to create economic linkages between smallholder farmers and reputable companies.
So at that time, you have minimum interventions, human interventions, and we'll be able to deploy machines, to do most of the work for you, and you just supervise.
Our target is to have at least 10,000 farmers per local government.
The farmers were handed over the inputs, which comprise improved cassava stems, fertilizers, sprayers, herbicides and pesticides for onward planting in their farms. NISAL still follow them up with monitoring, reporting and remediation. In one of the farms visited by officials in Oguta local government area of the state, about 60 kilometers away from the state capital, the farmers who have commenced activities at the onset of the rains are expected to produce about 495 tons of cassava from the 11 hectares of farmland with the inputs and extension services available. The Nigeria Incentive-Based Risk System for Agricultural Lending, NISAL, which was launched in 2011 and was incorporated by CBN in 2013, is focusing on the value chain in agriculture through risk-sharing facilities and bank incentive mechanism, among others. In Owerri, Kate Osumwa, NTA News.
Let's join Sadia Umar Digi in Sakwatul for more news.
Good evening and welcome to Sakwatul. Stakeholders in the water sector have advocated for a better budgetary provision and political will towards addressing the prevailing challenges of water supply in Zamfara State. This came to the fore at a forum held in Gusau to discuss challenges of water supply in the state. Jamilu Ibrahim has more.
Statistics from the UNICEF indicate that only 42% of the total population in Zamfara State have access to safe drinking water, while the supply of water to people in Gusau, the state capital, and other major towns in the state is bedeviled by the challenges of overstretched and obsolete equipment. That of rural areas is been largely hampered by inadequate funding of the relevant agencies by the government. Zamfara State Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency organized a forum where these challenges were extensively discussed and solutions proffered by the stakeholders.
The same water schemes that were designed for water board to run cannot be adequate to take care of the existing population in urban. We are also requesting Zamfara State government to, as a matter of urgency, address rural water supply.
Government is willing to support, and I'm sure once we get that release, we'll be able to expand more in terms of access to safe water in Zamfara State.
The stakeholders emphasized the need for multi-sectoral approach and better political will towards addressing the challenges for the actualization of easy access to safe drinking water for all by the year 2030. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
That's all from Sokoto. It's back to Kene in Abuja.
Thank you, Sadia. Time for another commercial break. Welcome back. We now catch up with news on the foreign scene with Uche Ogochukwu.
You're welcome.
The current Ebola outbreak in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo has been rated the second largest ever recorded, with over 1,000 people known to have contracted the virus. More than 629 people have died since last August, while new cases increased over the past week, with 58 new cases reported. This is due to the attack on several treatment facilities, letting out infectious patients and making it difficult to prevent further spread of the disease. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has ordered a top-level inquiry into the Christchurch mosque attacks that left 50 people dead. She said a royal commission would examine whether police and intelligence services could have done more to prevent the 15 March shootings. A royal commission is the highest level of independent inquiry available under New Zealand law. In Australia, a second cyclone within 48 hours has brought destructive winds and torrential rains to coastal regions. Cyclone Veronica lingered about 60 miles off the nation's northwest coast on Monday. Officials say, though it is no longer expected to make landfall, locals are warned to remain indoors. Finally, Donald Trump claims he has been completely exonerated by an inquiry into allegations Russia conspired to help him win the 2016 election. A summary of special counsel Robert Mueller's long-awaited report released on Sunday found the Trump campaign had not conspired with Russia, allegations that had cast a shadow over Trump's presidency and his chances of re-election in 2020. However, it was inconclusive on whether President Trump had obstructed justice. Thanks for staying tuned. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
Now, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, Abike Dabiri-Yerewa, has described the success of Tanitoluwa Adewumi, an 8-year-old Nigerian chess champion, as a pride to the nation. In a statement, Abike Dabiri said the feat performed by the young Tanitoluwa in the chess tournament is unparalleled and unique. The young Nigeria diasporan recently won the New York State Chess Championship for his age bracket and has been invited to a meeting with former U.S. President Bill Clinton. Tanitoluwa's rating is now 1,587 and rising fast, and he is being compared with the world's best player Magnus Carlsen, who stands at 2,845. The Nigerian Under-23 side Dream Team 7 has qualified for the next stage of the 2020 Olympic qualifiers after a 4-0 victory over Libya. Austin Demodu has the update from the Stephen Keshi Stadium, Asaba. And that's NTA Network News tonight. Thanks indeed for watching. I am Kenneth Emma Abodike. Do have a wonderful night rest.